YouTube. It's Lefty79 back with some more NFL Stableford League content. It's another power ranking show. It's the double dose that I was promising after being out a couple weeks now without having a show. It's time to do a twofer, and it's two for Tuesday. So we're here with our second show of the week, going through the results and the power rankings after week number 13 that just concluded this past Sunday. Uh, Lots of movement in these rankings. Definitely, as you can see on your screen, there's a new number 32 team this week, as a certain Chancellor of the Cellar is no longer there. So wow, that's got to be weird. Must be feeling like he's living in the penthouse or something after the events of week number 13. But just gonna kick things off by saying thanks to those who got their games in the last couple weeks. I know I was kind of lagging behind a little bit with the results and things, but for those that are getting their games in and twitching and broadcasting, really appreciate it. It gets the word out about the league, and really appreciate some of the comments and some of the compliments I've been getting just from people in the league, and even those outside the league who are really liking what they're seeing and enjoying the concept and enjoying the play and the difficulty of it all. And then there's some that, maybe aren't so thrilled about the way things are going. And to those people, I just say thanks for playing this year or this season. And the door is definitely open if you played in the league this year to come back to the 2022 season, wherever that may be. Still, there's details that need to be worked out there. But I want to do something in the off season. Probably not going to be right away. There is a football league launching, though, this spring, which I'm considering doing maybe some sort of a concept around that, because it seems like people like to mirror like the actual competitions that are going on. And I know I did do a throwback season one year, and I don't know how really well that was received, but it kind of dragged on a little bit. And I think people would rather. I kind of want to do a team concept, and I kind of want to do it with maybe less teams, and maybe like pattern it after maybe the USFL that's going to be launching this spring. I don't think the XFL is going to be around until next year, so that could possibly be next year's off-season league. But I think the league concept is probably the way to go. I know I did enjoy the quarterback challenge, and I enjoyed uh, running it, but wow, that was a lot of work, and there was a lot of calculations there, and just a lot of weird things that I think people were just like, "Hey, I'll just play my rounds and let Tyler figure it out." So I think the league concept where you actually know who you're playing against, and maybe having a little bit more of a team aspect might be the way to go for any sort of a new season. And anything that I would do would definitely be, um, I would say it would definitely be handicapped or kept to master difficulty, because I definitely prefer this difficulty level over what the tours is doing. Because if I'm going to have you play pro, you might as well just play in the tours and join a different society that's just playing pro. I mean, there's really no differentiation there if you're just going to play, you know, if we're just going to go to pro, and that throws all the handicaps out the window, and it basically will overpower the handicap system basically, because everybody will be hitting their birdies and their eagles, and I'm sure the occasional albatross in there as well. And of course, you'll have your aces too. But really appreciate you tuning in, and I'll end my rant, and we'll move on with these rankings as we start with number 32. It's the Carolina Panthers of Josiah, who are 2-10. They're number 16 in the NFC. They dropped one spot after a bye week, So yeah, that's a tough break to drop to the seller after your buy, but I think some of the circumstances around this kind of have it make sense. I mean, Josiah has had a very rough go of it the last few weeks. He's lost his last two games. Next, he plays Atlanta. The Panthers will go back. They'll be home, so they'll be playing Atlanta, who are 5-7, who are just coming off a tough loss for the division lead in the NFC South. So the Panthers could continue the pain there for the Falcons. The Panthers really, I mean, they're 4 games out, but we're running out of time. I mean, they got 5 games left, so figure they're gonna have to win out and hope to get a lot of help. But either way, the Panthers, kudos to them for hanging with the league this whole time despite the struggles, and hopefully uh, that's rewarded at some point with maybe another win or two down the road here. But yeah, the Panthers aren't going to just go away, and I give them credit for being in the league this year and sticking it out. As we now go to number 31, it's the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this is a surprise team to be this low. B-Mel's hasn't probably had the season that he was hoping for in this league, as he is a master difficulty player with some of the societies he plays in. And the Colts are 3-9-1, number 15 in the AFC. They dropped one spot after being number 30 last week. They lost at Houston. Paul beat them 25-23. The Texans needed that win, and the Colts, unfortunately, were not able to gain any ground in the AFC South. Uh, so this is probably a great time for them to have a bye week this week and recoup and maybe try to get back to winning and maybe make a late run for that AFC South. But as far as the wild card is concerned, I think those conversations are probably done, as that AFC is just too difficult. And I think right now 8 wins is barely getting into the playoffs in the AFC, and the Colts only have 3 right now, and with 5 games to go, well, the Colts actually only have 4 games left, as they really had a late bye this year. So it's pretty much you gotta hope now. I mean, the best the Colts can get is 7 wins. Paul's already at 6, so it's pretty much a wrap, I'm guessing, for the Colts. I really appreciate them sticking it out though and giving it a good effort this season, despite all that. But they're winless in their last 5 games, and that's why they're down here at number 31. We'll see if B Mel's can relax on his bye week. I think he went to Vegas. I'm not sure if he's back. Probably back, but good luck to him as we move forward here to number 30. And we got some news about this team coming up. It's the Dallas Cowboys. 4-8. They're number 12 in the NFC. So why are they down this low? Well, their coach had a rough one this past week and was not able to put any. The Cowboys were not able to put any points on the board. Now that's a tough thing to have happen, especially when you kind of have an outside shot at a playoff spot. And maybe earlier in the year it's not as big of a deal, but when you're at week 13 and the season's kind of coming down to a crescendo here, or getting to a close, and unfortunately the Cowboys just were not able to put out any sort of effort, and so they dropped 7 spots from number 23 last week after losing at New Orleans 27-0. I mean, the Saints definitely put out a good number. I mean, that was probably going to be a tough score to beat anyway, but the fact that the Cowboys' effort just never got anything going at all uh, brings them down to this position. But next, the Cowboys, with their new interim coach, we'll get to that in a second, are going to play at the football team, at the Washington football team, who are 7-5. So that's a playoff team right now, and the Cowboys definitely have a chance. Plus, it's a divisional rival, which definitely is a hated rival from years gone by. As you know, the that goes back to the Cowboys and the Native American rivalry. We know what they used to be called, but at the end of the day, the football team is going to have their hands full here. I think with a new owner, or actually a new coach coming in and owner, obviously. But uh, Scott's going to take a little time and get his situation squared away. Uh, Not really sure what the outlook looks like there, but we'll play that week by week. But right now, Sky Blue Ben's going to come in. Ben Tuff is going to come in and give it a shot with the Dallas Cowboys after playing in Week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers and being their coach and having to step down as just wasn't able to fulfill the commitment there. But Ben left on great terms. There's definitely no animosity there, and we definitely welcome him back with open arms as a substitute or interim head coach. I think he's going to do a good job this week. It's a pretty good venue to score some points at Washington, and I think that the Cowboys may get a little bit of infusion of life maybe here toward the end of this season, as it's still not out of the possibility of going over 500 and maybe making a run for a wild card. So we'll see if Sky Blue Ben continues in the role as interim coach. Otherwise, Scott will probably be back at some point. We'll see. But there could always be another job opening up, and I'll get to that in a little while. As we now head to number 29. It's the Seattle Seahawks of Chris Smith, who are 3-9, number 13 in the NFC. They're down 2 spots this week from number 27 after losing to the 49ers 27-22 at home. That's tough. That's a tough loss. I know the Seahawks, the 12th man, really disappointed. That I think the 49ers just they're on another level right now. They're just playing lights out, Stableford, and the Seahawks at home. I thought had a really good shot there, especially against a division rival and trying to stay alive in that division. But I think now it's just pretty much all she wrote for the Seahawks this year in the NFC West. Um, there's really no shot there as they are already, I believe, mathematically eliminated with 5 games to go. The Niners are already 7 games ahead in the win column after that loss. So it's going to have to be a wild card for the Seahawks if they're going to make a run. And it will start next at Houston, who are 6-6 and leading that AFC South. The Seahawks have lost their last 2 games, so now's the time. If they're going to get going, they have to do it this week, it seems, because the Houston is definitely they're playing well, but they're not a juggernaut by any means, and they're definitely vulnerable sometimes to inconsistency, as any good up and coming team is. Especially when you're leading a division now, there's a little bit more pressure, and Houston has the Jaguars breathing right down their necks, and you don't want to have that. You don't want to have a team grinding up that standings, and they're right on your back now, and they're making gains. So Houston's got to keep pace, and they just got to keep winning. But Seattle has something to say about it this week, and I think Chris is going to pull out a pretty good performance. Will it be enough to beat Houston on the road? That's another question. We'll find out though here in week 14 as we now head up to number 28. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Now this is a surprise as Zucchero has dropped now 6 spots from number 22. The Eagles are 5-8. They're 10th in the NFC right now. But after not showing up at all this past week against the New York Jets on the road, losing 27-0, that's basically why they dropped. Uh, I know Zucchero's a good player. He was in platinum. I think he dropped down to elite on the tours, but I just think right now he's not really feeling it with the Eagles. They lost 6 games in a row. Uh, that's going to be a lot for anybody to overcome. And right now, the reality is they're really not out of the playoffs yet, despite all of that. But if you're not going to give an effort and you're not going to show up, then you're ranked where you are for a reason, and that's why they're 28th. And now going into a bye week, which is probably a great time for that, to have some soul searching happen. Like, are you going to finish the season, or how's it going to go? That's some questions that the commissioner and the league office will have to decide. But we already know that Sky Blue Ben is in the fold as an interim coach, and this could possibly be another landing spot. Who knows if Scott does return? So we'll find out, as we do have other options out there as well for interim coaches. But right now, Sky Blue Ben is committed to Dallas. He's got the cheerleaders in his corner down there. So, but the Eagles are definitely a possibility after what happened in week number 13, where they did not even get off the bus. So we'll see what happens going forward with this with the Philadelphia Eagles, as they're definitely they're definitely in the hunt for a playoff spot, being number 10 in the NFC right now. So especially with 4 games to play, there's definitely still a possibility, but it's definitely fading fast. So we now move on from that volatile situation to number 27 in another situation that probably is in very dire straits right now. It is the Chicago Bears. Now, my division rival, who I play this week, is down 3 spots from number 24. They're 4-8. They're number 11 in the NFC right now, and Sam Riotous is down after losing at home to the Cardinals to Art, 24-21 by a field goal. Uh, no real way to explain that, but any given Sunday, that's all you can say. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL Stableford League. Some players have a bad week, and that's exactly, I think, what happened with the Bears. As Art came in, put up a decent score, probably expected to get smoked, but the Bears just had no answers, and now they find themselves really behind the 8 ball in the NFC North, uh, as they trail now by, I believe, 3 games with 5 to play. So it's gonna have to start this week at Green Bay. Not a tough place to play in December, but we'll see if the conditions are favorable. As the Packers are 6-6, so they're up 2 games in the standings on the Bears right now. And the Bears really, this is pretty much win out and hope for a wild card, or hope for a lot of help. So we'll see if Sam can get back on the winning track at Green Bay after. There might be some payback though after what happened earlier in the season between these two old rivals. But we'll see what happens as we now move up to number 26. It's the Tennessee Titans of Platypus Brigade, who are 3-9, and they stay exactly where they are after last week. They had a bye. They're number 16 in the AFC, but don't let that deceive you, as they're still in the hunt for the AFC South. Uh, Definitely have a lot to play for this week, as they have the Jaguars at home, who are 5-6-1 and ahead of them in the AFC South. So this is a chance for the Titans to really tighten up and move up the standings in that division and keep their playoff dreams alive. The wild card's pretty much out of the question with only 5 games left. The Titans only have a shot at getting 8 wins right now, but 8 wins could be enough in the AFC South. So we'll see if the Titans can put together a big performance at home, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. As the Jaguars are coming off a big win themselves, and we're going to get to them in a little bit. But the Titans they've had some big performances on Twitch, and we'll see if they can come up with another one here upcoming in week number 14. As we now hit the top 25, and a big surprise, it's the Arizona Cardinals who move up 7 big spots from number 32 up to number 25 after the big win at Chicago, 24-21. Art's 15th in the NFC right now. Pretty much out of the picture, probably for, obviously he's out of the division race in that NFC West, but we'll definitely need to go on an absolute roll here the rest of this season if they're going to have any shot at a playoff berth or a wild card. But great win though for Art on the road. That's probably why he moved up so much, and because some of the troubles that are going on with some of these teams that are ranked near the bottom. But Art, glad to see him break that losing streak finally. Kyler got it going, and that was exactly the difference this week. But now the Cardinals will play their fellow division rival, the LA Rams, at home. And they're 7-5, so this is a spoiler game for Art, really, and maybe a possible way to move up a little bit in the wild card. So, and I know these two rivals have played earlier this year on Twitch and had a nice head-to-head matchup in LA, but now the scene gets moved to Arizona, and we'll see how that shakes out if those two teams decide to get it together live, or how that's going to play out. But it'll be interesting to see as those two have a history together. As you recall last year, the Cardinals got a big win on the road at LA to win the division last year, and Kevin did avenge that loss at home, but now they get to play each other again. So this could be a big one for the Rams. We'll see if Art brings it this week. He will, but we'll see if it's enough to maybe start on a little bit of a winning streak. We'll see. As we now move up to number 24. Another team that's taken a little bit of a jump here. It's the New Orleans Saints of Greg, who are 4-8, number 13 in the NFC right now. They move up 4 spots from number 28 after being the beneficiary of that win over Dallas at home, 27-0. Big win there. I mean, obviously, the defense did its job, but the Cowboys offense never showed up either. But it's still, a win is a win, and it helps the Saints move up a little bit in the NFC South, which is still not out of the picture yet. There's still hope there, as they're only 2 games out of the division. And next they'll be playing at the New York Jets, who are 6-6 and also fighting for their playoff survival. The Saints, very they're kind of like their quarterback now, Taysom Hill. They're very enigmatic, as you don't know what you're going to get. Some weeks, they're going to run the ball down your throat, and other weeks, we'll see if they air it out. But they're a little bit banged up right now, but the Saints are always going to give a good effort, and I don't expect any less this week, as they now travel to East Rutherford to take on the Jets at MetLife. The Jets are really playing really well right now, so that's going to be a tough one, I think. But the Saints, even with a loss, they're still not really out of it yet in that NFC South. So if they just keep the consistency, I could see them making a little bit of a run for that division title. But it's gonna have to start probably this week, and really you don't have too much room for error with only 5 games left. So, but kudos to the Saints for moving up here 4 spots, and now we move up to number 23. This is another team that made a pretty big jump. The Las Vegas Raiders. Now, why are they so high? I mean, they're 4-8. They're 23rd. They're darn near dead last in the AFC. They're number 14. But they put a big whooping on the Washington football team last week, 32-30, and it didn't even go to overtime. That was a regulation score. Now 32 points, I believe, is the record now for our regulation point total, which that's just impressive. No matter where you look at it, I mean Chinatown does get a good amount of handicap, but you still got to put the points on the board, and you still got to get the Hail Mary when you need it. And the Raiders were able to do that, and that's why they moved up 6 big spots this week to number 23. And now we'll play their division rivals, their hated division rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, who are 6-6. Now we know the Raiders are pretty much probably out of the AFC West picture, as they only have 5 games left, and they would have to win out, and they'd have to hope the Chargers lose out, and that's probably unlikely to happen. But the Raiders can still finish over 500, and to me, I think that's a noble goal, especially in this league and in that division. That if you can end up 9-8, that you can hang your hat on that, or your eye patch, whatever you want to hang on it. But as the Raiders go into Arrowhead, that would be a knockout game if they could take the Chiefs down a notch. That would definitely be a huge scalp for them, as the Chiefs are still fighting for a playoff spot for that wild card spot, and they still have an outside shot at the division. So the Raiders would definitely be playing a big spoiler role here, and definitely would want to keep moving up these rankings too. I mean, they just took a huge leap this week, so we'll see if that will continue as we now head to number 22. It's the Cleveland Browns, who are 5-7 right now, number 13 in the AFC, just above the Raiders. Tim, down 1 spot this week. They had a bye, the Browns did, so dropped one due to some of the volatility going on in the rankings right now. But it probably was a good week for a bye, as they've lost their last 4 games and have pretty much dropped out of relevancy in the AFC playoff picture, as the wild card is really it's getting out of reach right now, and the AFC North is really you got the Cincinnati Bengals in that division, and they're already at 9 wins, and the Browns only have 5 right now. So it's that's basically got to be a win out type of situation here for the Browns. I mean, they have a shot at getting 10 wins. Now that's a big goal to have. I mean, that's a 10-win season is definitely a great goal. It's something you always want to shoot for in a football season, because 10 wins is usually good enough uh, to get to the postseason. But unfortunately, with as stacked as the AFC is this year in this league, it might not be enough. So we'll see. But it'll start in week 14 for the Browns, as next they'll play at home against the Ravens, who are 8-4. The Ravens just had a tough loss, and we'll hear more from them later. But we'll see if the Browns can get back on the winning track. The Ravens are a little bit wounded right now, so they might be catching them at a good time, but we'll have to see. But at least they have them at their house. They have them at the dog pound, and we'll see if the Browns can turn things around here in week number 14. As we now move up to number 21. It's the Atlanta Falcons of Allen. Ruby Rock is 5-7, number 9 in the NFC right now, after that tough loss to their division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 22-20. The Falcons dropped 5 spots this week because of that. Uh, Probably a bigger drop than expected, but there was a lot of movie, not a lot of upward and downward, a lot of big moves this week because of some of the results that happened, and uh, some of the volatility in these rankings this week. But yeah, that game was for the NFC South division lead, and unfortunately the Falcons just weren't able to muster up too much at home, and the Buccaneers defense stifled them and took home the win, and the lead in the division as well. So tough loss for the Dirty Birds, but they can't get too down, as they have another division rival who is hungry for a win, coming into actually they have to go to Carolina. So Carolina's 2-10 right now, but don't let that record deceive you, as Josiah's had some pretty good scoring games in the past that were probably good enough to win most weeks, but just ran into a buzzsaw. So we'll see if the Falcons get back on the winning way, get back to winning ways after getting knocked out of the playoff picture, and now are finding themselves on the outside looking in, one game behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. So we'll find out as we now moved into the top 20. And it's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Corey, who are 5-6-1 right now after a big win on the road at the LA Rams, a playoff team currently, 28-27. That's a big win. The Jaguars are number 12 in the AFC right now. They move up 5 big spots this week, and they really they came out of nowhere there. I really think that uh, the coach really had a great game plan going into LA. That can be a really tricky place to play, and somehow, some way, they really grinded one out. And you got to give the Jaguars credit. They're not folding the tent. They're within a game. Actually, yeah, they're a game out in the win column in the AFC South. So definitely uh, playoff aspirations here for Jacksonville. After leading that division most of the season, it's the Texans now who they are looking up to. So we'll see if they can continue these winning ways at Tennessee. So the Jaguars have a division opponent coming up. The Titans are 3-9, uh, but that's a deceiving 3-9. As I've seen the Titans put up some pretty good performances on Twitch, and the Jaguars uh, really don't play on Twitch. So at the end of the day, this could be decided in the trenches. We'll see what happens, as I think the Titans play in a tricky venue as well, and the Jaguars, they're very up and down this year, I want to say, and we'll see if they can put another big performance together on the road and get back to 500. Actually, 6-6-1 would be a little bit above 500, as the tie does count as a half a win. So, but we now move up to number 19. It's the Kansas City Chiefs of Kike, who are 6-6, number 10 in the AFC right now. Uh, Down 5 spots this week from number 14, as they lost at home to a division rival, the Denver Broncos, 25-24. That loss hurts, as the Chiefs were really making a nice run there, and then they ran into a tough division opponent and just couldn't get the job done at home. That's tough in Week 13 when that happens, and the Chiefs were definitely, if they would have put that one on the board, that would have been 7 wins, and they would have been knocking on the door for the wild card, and they probably would have been only 2 games out in the AFC West. But as it is now, they're on the outside looking in the playoffs, and now we'll be playing another home game against the division rival, the Las Vegas Raiders, who come in at 4-8. This is pretty much a must-win for the Chiefs, in my opinion, because if they don't win this one, it's just going to be a tough road ahead. With 4 games only left to play, uh, the AFC wildcard is definitely getting more heated every week, and the AFC West could be out of reach by then, as right now they're already 3 games behind in the win column. So as it is, that was a tough loss to Denver. We'll see if the Chiefs, we'll see if Mr. State Farm, Pat Mahomes, can get it going this week. Maybe get that running game going a little bit, get Kelsey going, get Hill going, and we'll see if they can put that aerial show on against the Las Vegas Raiders. As we now move up to number 18, and it's The Packers. The Pack come in at 6-6. They're number 8 in the NFC. They're down a spot this week from number 17 after their bye, and now they'll come back to play the oldest division rivalry in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, who come into Lambeau Field at 4-8. The Packers are down a little bit right now. They've lost their last two games and now find themselves outside the playoffs after a big win by another division rival that we'll get to in a little bit. But the Packers definitely this game at home is pretty much a must-win. Rodgers knows it. The team knows it. If you can't beat the Bears at home, you probably don't deserve to go to the playoffs, and that's just kind of how you think about it. You could still maybe find your way back via the wild card in the NFC, as it's not quite as spread out there, as the Packers are only a game out of the wild card right now currently. Actually, they're actually out via a tiebreaker right now, so they're technically tied for record wise, but they do not have the tiebreaker, so that's why they're the eighth seed right now. And we'll find out who that number 7 seed is in a little bit. But we'll now move up to the number 17 team. As we know, the Packers are in a must-win mode this week. As we now move up to number 17, and this is a team that did get a big win in week number 13, and now finds himself in a pretty good position, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are now 6-6. The Bucs are number 4 in the NFC now after that big win. Brandon has them playing pretty well right now. They're up 3 spots from last week after beating Atlanta on the road 22-20. They're now leading the NFC South, and they've now won their last 2 games. So things are trending up in Tampa, and we'll see if that will continue, as now they'll host the Buffalo Bills, who are 7-5 and coming off a tough loss. So we'll see. Tampa Bay has had a couple nice stretches of games in the past here to get back to 500. They're starting off a little bit slow this year, but kudos to them. And now we'll see if they can ride this momentum to a division title. Otherwise, there's teams that Atlanta's still in the mix. New Orleans is in the mix. We'll see if they can lock this thing down. Otherwise, if they don't beat Buffalo this week, they could be walking the plank. So we'll see what happens here with the Buccaneers going forward. As we now move up to another team in a similar situation at number 16, the Houston Texans of Paul, the Taft man, is 6-6. Number 4 in the AFC, up 3 spots this week from number 19. They beat the Colts at home, as mentioned earlier, 25-23 at home. That was a big win to cement their lead in that division, the AFC South. Beating a division rival is always what you want to do. And next, they'll host the Seattle Seahawks at 3-9, who are very much a wounded animal right now, but are always capable of putting out a big performance. So we'll see if the Texans can maintain their grip on that AFC South, as right now they're looking pretty good. And Paul, definitely has exceeded expectations, and there's still lots of work left to be done. With 5 games left in the season, they could ride this thing all the way into a division title and hosting a first-round playoff game. We'll see. But a great season so far for the Texans, no matter how you look at it. As we now move into the top 15. The New York Jets of David Dix, who are 6-6. Kind of rhyme there. The number 11 team in the AFC. They're up 3 spots this week after beating the Eagles in that shutout, 27-0. It was basically a practice game for them. They were able to put out a pretty good performance, though, on the field, and 27 points at home is always what you want to be doing. We'll see if they will be able to keep that going, though, as they will now play the Saints, New Orleans at home, who are 4-8. So we'll see as they've won the last two games. So it looks like the Jets are now starting to are starting to raise their altitude a little bit here after a little bit of a failure to launch earlier in the year. They're really going now, and it looks like the Jets are starting to feel it a little bit. And we'll see if they can keep moving up this list, keep moving up these rankings. But right now, is it a little bit too little, too late? We'll find out. I mean, the Jets can still get 11 wins. They have 5 games left to play. I'm not saying they're going to win out, but I'm not going to put it past them. As the AFC East is, there's a lot of jostling going on yet in that division, and the AFC wild card is still not out of reach as they're only 4 spots out of that. So we'll see what happens as we now move to number 14, and another team that's kind of had some struggles here lately. Now, this team was in the stratosphere weeks ago, but now they're starting to really come down to earth. And it's the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew. They're 7-5, but that's still good enough to be number 3 in the NFC as they're leading the NFC North right now. The Vikings are down 1 spot this week after losing at Detroit 27-24. So the Vikings are a little bit. They're not even the highest ranked team from their division right now after this loss, but they're still living off their early success right now. And it's a long season, and these things can happen. They've lost their last 2 games now, and it's rare to see that from the Vikings, especially in the last couple seasons of how dominant they've been. But we'll see if they can get back to how they can play at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who come in to U.S. Bank Stadium with a 7-5 record and with playoff aspirations of their own. So 2 7-5 teams are going to face off, and something's going to give there, and we'll see if it's the Vikings or if it's going to be the Steelers. But right now, the Vikings, they have to be their fan base has to be feeling a little queasy right now, as the playoffs are very precarious right now, as they're good enough right now to be number 3 in the NFC, but that could all change next week or in the next couple weeks if they don't start getting back to the purple way. So we'll see what happens as we now hit to lucky number 13 in this week's power rankings. And while it's a team not really affiliated with a lot of luck, as they've had a lot of tough years in the NFL, but this season they're 6-6 and are currently a playoff team. It's the Detroit Lions of CF, who are number 7 in the NFC right now after the big win at home against the Vikings, 27-24. They're up 2 spots from number 15 last week, but it could all come crashing down here as they now play at Denver in Mile High, who are 8-4. Now that's going to be a tough game for the Lions. I know they're not going to back down, and they're my division rival, and they've already beaten me this year, and they're going through the NFC pretty good. Now it's the AFC. Now these these interconference clashes are. It seems like the AFC gets the better of them these days, but we'll see if Detroit can turn that around. As right now they're hanging on by a thread in the NFC playoffs with the number 7 seed in the last wild card spot via the tiebreaker over the team to their right, the Green Bay Packers. So kudos to CF though for really turning the season around. I know that they were stuck in neutral for a while in the Motor City, but it looks like the engines are roaring again, and the Lions are in the playoffs right now as of this show. As we now move to number 12, who do we have? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills at number 12, who are 7-5 and number 9 in the AFC right now. Patrick unfortunately wasn't able to circle the wagons last week as they lost at home to the Patriots 28-23. Franz put it on them pretty good. So that means the Bills are down 4 spots this week from number 8 last week, and now are out of the playoffs in the AFC as well. So that was a double whammy there. losing to a divisional opponent, which the Bills have really struggled with this year, and that might come back to haunt them down the road as they got 7 wins, but none of them in their division right now, and that's very concerning, especially for any tiebreakers that may come up down the road. But as it is, the Bills will now play at Tampa Bay, who are 6-6. So there's a division leader right there, and the Bills need a win. This is pretty much imperative now, as they need to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and right now they're better. They have a better record than the Buccaneers, and if they're able to pull out that win, they could vault right back into the AFC wild card. But right now, with all these tiebreakers going against them, with their division record being what it is, I think it's going to have to come down to the wild card, because I don't know if that AFC East is in play with all the tiebreakers that the Bills are not in possession of. So we'll see what happens this week against an NFC opponent that they know pretty well in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As we now move up to number 11, we're nearing the top 10 here. But we have number 11 first, and that's the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, who are 7-5, number 6 in the NFC, so they're still in the NFC playoffs, despite that loss at home to the Jaguars, 28-27. Now, they're down one spot this week. I didn't drop them too much because of that, as the Jaguars are a pretty tough opponent, and the Rams still kept pace in the NFC, as a lot of teams struggled in the NFC playoff picture this week. But now the Rams will play at Arizona, as mentioned before, and Art Vandelay, who are 3-9. The Rams are really going to have to make a concerted effort to stop Kyler, as this is not a game you want to look past, as you already just dropped one at home to the Jaguars, and you don't want to compound that mistake by losing at a team that you probably should beat. But stranger things have happened in the NFL Stableford League, and boy, the Rams just, probably let a golden opportunity get past them in Week 13. But the Jaguars, kudos to them, though. They came out and they played a good game on the road. But we'll see if the Rams can bounce back now as they hit the road to the desert. And now we move to number 10. It's the Washington football team of Zach, who are 7-5 and number 5 in the NFC. They're down one spot this week after losing at Vegas. Didn't really drop them too much because that was a very big anomaly, as the Vegas Raiders just went off and scored 32 points on them, and the football team put up 30 and lost. That's all you need to know about that week. Some weeks you're the dog, and some weeks you're the hydrant. And that week the football team was the hydrant, really. Just a tough go of it there. But they're still in the top 10, and they're still in the playoffs, so not all is lost. They did lose a little bit of ground in the NFC East, however. But right now it looks like the football team's going to try to focus on that wild card spot, and maybe possibly catching the NFC East leaders. But right now they're 3 games behind there with 5 to play, so that could be a tough road to hoe there. But next, the football team will play the super sub of Sky Blue Ben and his Dallas Cowboys this week at home, who are 4-8 coming in. So this game takes on a little bit of a different dynamic, as Sky Blue Ben is hungry. I mean, he's 1-0 in this league. He has never lost. And it's up to the football team to knock him out. And we'll see if they can do that, because Sky Blue Ben's going to come out firing, and he's got nothing to lose. He's going to play with that gunslinger mentality. So we'll see what happens in Week 14 as we now move up to number 9. And a guy who hopefully his vision problems are clearing up, but I can definitely see that the New England Patriots are 9-4, and they're number 5 in the AFC. So they're still in the playoffs after, well, they've been in the playoffs lately, that's for sure. But Belichick's up, they're up 3 spots from number 12 this week after beating Buffalo on the road. Belichick does it again against a division rival. They're up And now they're going into their bye week riding pretty high. So the Patriots definitely looking pretty good right now. They're tied for the lead in the AFC East, but they do not have the tiebreaker from earlier this year, as the Dolphins did defeat them. But I believe they do play each other again yet to end the season, so that could be the pivotal game to decide the division. We'll find out. But as it is, the Patriots are it's going to be on bye this week, and they are the number 5 seed in the AFC. And I was wondering why I didn't get a Twitch stream from Franz this week. And now it just dawned on me. He's got a bye. But as it is, we now move up to number 8. And someone who did get a Twitch stream out there already, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers of Pat Strife, who are 7-5 and number 8 in the AFC right now, knocking on the door of a playoff spot. But they're really high in these rankings because of some of their impressive wins they've had this year, as they're up 3 spots from number 11 after beating the Baltimore Ravens at home 28-25. So still not in the playoffs with 7 wins, but the Steelers look impressive, and I guess to me, I feel like it's only a matter of time, and that AFC North is just beating each other up, and somebody's going to get left on the outside. It's like musical chairs. Someone's going to be left without a chair in that division, and unfortunately, right now it's the Steelers, as the music just stopped this week, and they don't have a chair right now in the playoffs. But not all is lost, as there's still plenty of time, plenty of music left to play. There's still 5 games to go on their schedule, and they'll be playing at Minnesota, a team that's struggling mightily right now. At Minnesota, who are 7-5. So 2 teams with the same record, but are kind of going in different directions right now. So if Pat can get the Steelers going and put up the steel curtain again this week, they'll probably be in the wild card for sure, and will definitely be moving up these power rankings. But as it is, the Steelers are number 8 this week, and now we move to number 7, another lucky number. We'll find out who it is. It's the Miami Dolphins of Cade, who are 9-4 and number 3 in the AFC right now, leading the AFC East. But they do drop 1 spot this week after losing at home to the Giants. The G-Men beat them 28-26. Tag Rocket was able to put together a pretty big performance on the road. We don't expect anything less there, as Danny Dimes was throwing it all over the yard, and Saquon was running up and down the sidelines. But as it is, the Dolphins are still in a pretty good spot, heading into their bye now, as they're number 3 in the AFC. I don't think anybody would have thought that before the season began, to be honest, with a 3-point handicap. But definitely definitely exceeded all expectations that a lot of the league had, myself included. But kudos to the Dolphins heading into their bye. They're number 7 this week. Probably a little bit disappointed after losing to a tough team in the G-Men, but really can't really feel too ashamed of that, as the G-Men have been putting it on everybody these days. But still a top team in the AFC. We'll be hosting a first round game if this all holds, if they can keep the division lead. But Franz is knocking right on the door with the Patriots, and both teams head into their bye, and it's going to be equal terms the rest of the way, as it's going to be a 4-game sprint to see who takes this division, as both teams are 9-4. So we'll see what happens there as we now move up to number 6. A team that we've been mentioning a lot lately, it's the Baltimore Ravens of Eddie, who are 8-4. Number 7 in the AFC. They took a big drop after losing at Pittsburgh 28-25. They dropped 4 spots this week from number 2. That's tough, as Baltimore's been playing great Stableford this year. They've got some really big wins, but this past week was not one of them, as the Steelers came out and just played a solid game and took it down in Pittsburgh. So as it is, the Ravens drop down to the wild card, uh, as they were in the division lead, but now they are no longer, as they are right on the edge of the wild card now at number 7. So as it is, the Ravens will bounce back at Cleveland this week, who are 5-7. Now this is a get back game for the Ravens. Uh, it's a division rival as well, so you don't want to look past it. But we'll see if the Ravens can get back to where they were in the division. Right now they're a game behind the team that is leading that division right now, the Bengals. We'll hear from them in a little bit, but as it is, the Ravens, yeah, that AFC, I'm telling you, one week you could be feeling really great, and the next week you could feel like total junk. So as it is, it's like it's such a highly competitive conference. I mean, both conferences are very competitive this year. It's just in the AFC, it seems like one loss is a major gut punch, especially this late in the season and with all the great talent in that conference. But as it is, I mean, in the NFC, we had a couple playoff teams lose, and they're still in the playoffs. So in the AFC, it just seems like it's a little bit more of a knockout. As we go to number 5 now, let's head to the top 5. It's the Denver Broncos of Austin, who are 8-4. They're number 6 in the AFC, so they did leapfrog the Ravens, and they're up 2 spots this week, and they leapfrogged them in the rankings as well after winning at KC, beating the Chiefs 25-24 on the road at Arrowhead. Great performance there. You always want to win on the road, and especially against a division rival. And you kept pace. Actually, you gained a game in the AFC West because of that win. So the Broncos have their sights set on a division title, and they could do it. As the next day will play at home against the Lions, which is a current NFC playoff team at 6-6. So if the Broncos are going to win that division, they're going to have to get through some tough opponents here the rest of the way, with 5 games to go. Uh, and still, I mean, you got to keep pace with the AFC wildcard picture as well, as you got all these teams in the AFC where it's just it's a murderer's row of teams in the AFC right now. Uh, any given Sunday, I think any of these teams could win. So you love to see the parity. You love to see it, and you're just I hope it makes Week 17 just spectacular. As I could see some really great games playing out on Twitch. If we get some live games, otherwise I could just see some really big results coming down the road here with some of these teams coming up here. As we now move to number 4, now this is a team that the Broncos are trying to catch. It's the LA Chargers. Now they stayed the same this week, as they're 9-3. They're still leading the AFC West. Now if they were going to lose one, they're number 2 in the AFC right now. Mike Rubino is. Now if they're going to lose one on the road at Cincinnati, basically if you're going to pick a week to lose one, this is the week they were going to lose one, because the Bengals are just difficult. They're a high-scoring team. They're playing at home. I don't think the odds were with the Chargers here, and they did lose 29-25, but they put up a pretty decent fight. And as it is, that's why they stayed at number 4. The Broncos are really knocking on the door though, and the Chargers really are going to walk into another difficult matchup with the New York Giants at home, who are coming in at 10-2. This is the game of the week, and this is the beginning of the top 4 knockout tournament here, it looks like, in week number 13. This is like a preview of what's to come in the postseason with these top 4 teams. This is basically like the pre-postseason tournament coming up, as we got the possible number 1 team in the Giants playing the number 4 team in the Chargers. The Giants were last week's number 1 team. I'm not going to give it away yet, but they were the number 1 team last week, and they're coming into LA to try to say, hey, we're going to win this thing, and we're the favorites. But as it is, the Chargers have been number 1 in these rankings for many weeks as well. So we'll see what happens. But out of the top 4, only one of these top 4 have never been number 1. But another team that was number 1 I believe they were for 1 week. It is the Cincinnati Bengals at number 3, and yes, I believe they were number 1 at one point. But they're 9-3. They're number 1 in the AFC right now, so they'll have the home field advantage if it ended today. Jason is up 2 big spots this week from number 5 to number 3 after beating the Chargers 29-25 at home and winning their last 2 games now. So the Bengals are starting to roll again. But now this is the second round of the pre-playoff tournament here. As the other this is like the other semifinal. It's the San Francisco 49ers coming into Cincinnati uh, at 10-2. So this is going to be a big game for the Bengals. It's basically a rematch of one of the Super Bowls in the years past. I believe it was Super Bowl 23. I want to say, yeah, I think it was 23. It was actually a really darn good Super Bowl. Look it up on YouTube if you're looking at any Super Bowl highlights. But this is when the Bengals were in their heyday with Boomer Esiason and some Icky Woods days. Like, yeah, that was when the Bengals were huge. But this is a big game. This is basically the Bengals saying, "Hey, we're the number 1 team in the AFC. We're taking on the number 1 team in the NFC. Let's see who it is. Let's see who the number 1 team is. Let's see who the champs are. If it was to be crowned today." Now, Week 14 doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the playoffs, but this is a message game. This is like putting it on the line for your reputation, and this is big. I don't think we've ever had a regular season game this big, probably in all the years of NFL Stableford. But this is up there. This is definitely up there, as well as the Chargers Giants game. These 2 games are it's probably the first time this has ever even really happened. But it's awesome, and I'm here for it, and I think it's great. And it just goes to show how great of a league we have this year with some of the great teams going forward here. As we now move into number 2, and pretty much gave it all away with the pre-playoff tournament. It's the San Francisco 49ers of Jason Crushtastic, who are 10-2, number 1 in the NFC, uh, and number 2 in these rankings. They're up 1 spot as they defeated Minnesota 23-0. They were the beneficiary of that shutout. It was a tough deal for the Vikings that last week. But actually, I think this is wrong because I think that was during the week before. I believe the Niners they beat Seattle on the road. That's what they did. Yeah, I had this wrong, but that's okay. I can correct that. But they did beat the Seattle Seahawks 27-22 on the road. But previous to that, yeah, they did beat the Vikings 23-0 in a shutout, which we didn't really talk about, but that was during the week that the show was off. But as it is, the Niners are on a 6-game winning streak, and now we'll go to the Bengals, which will be their biggest game of the year by far when it comes to opponents. So, as it is, we'll see if the Niners can prove that they do belong in the number 1 spot, because I really think if they pull this one out at Cincinnati, they have a really great shot of doing that. Yeah, maybe the winner of that game, either team has a shot to move up to number 1 next week. It all depends on how that shakes out, though. We'll see how it goes. But as it is, the number 1 team, again, for I believe it's a 3rd week in a row, it's the New York Giants of Don Tagrocket, who are 10-2, number 2 in the NFC, but don't let that fool you, as they are on a 10-game winning streak. Absolute roll right now, playing awesome to Stableford. They won last week against Philadelphia. Actually, no, see, I didn't change this one either. That was previously. They did beat Miami. That's who they defeated, 28-26 on the road. And next they'll play that huge game against the Chargers on the road. Against the 9-3 squad there. So basically, the 2 number 1 teams in the conferences and the 2 number 2 teams in the conferences are going to face off this week, and it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, yeah, I wish these are all on the same console. I know Don's PC and Mike is not. Mike's PS4, so we know that one won't be able to be twitched. And I know there's a very large gap between the two Jasons, uh, continent-wise. But man, it'd be awesome if those two could twitch it up or play live somehow. But if not, it's okay. It's not a requirement in this league to do that. But as it is, awesome top four. I think we got the right teams in the top four, and wow, we got some great matchups this week in Week 14 that are going to be lights out. So, as it is, I really thank you for joining me today uh, for the double dose of the Power Rankings show this week after Week 13. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope I enjoyed bringing it to you, and I'm looking forward to this week's matchups here in week number 14. But as it is, this is Lefty 79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, wishing you a great rest of your week. And we'll be back with our normal edition, just one show next week. But yeah, it was really fun bringing two to you this week. I really enjoyed it. Lots to talk about, lots of great matchups. I think the league is really humming right now, and I really am positive about where we could go in the future with some of these. Just some of the players in this league are really just top notch people, and I really enjoy running this league, and I really hope you enjoy playing in it and following it if you're one of our fans or somebody that just likes seeing how things work in this society. I really do appreciate the views, and I do appreciate the comments. Once again, I'm going to sign off today. Lefty79 saying, take care, everybody, and thank you again for watching. Goodbye, and see you down the road.